Welcome to the Strategy Skills podcast. I'm your host, Chris Safarova. And today we have with us Hernan Tagliani, who is a multicultural marketing expert, award-winning strategist for Fortune 500 companies, and sought-after business speaker. He is the best-selling author of Multicultural Mainstream, The Power of Hispanics in Consumer Marketing, and a contributing writer for national publications including Adweek, Entrepreneur Magazine, and Forbes Magazine. Hernan, welcome.
Thank you. It's a pleasure to be here. Thank you for having me.
What key experience early in your career gave you a lens others didn't have that ultimately got you to do the work you're doing today?
Well, definitely discipline and persistent. I was born and raised in Buenos Aires, Argentina. I work in the marketing and advertising industry for a little over 33 years. So I moved to the United States around 23 years ago. Even though my experience in marketing and advertising was very strong, when I moved here, different culture, different way of doing business, and I have to basically reinvent myself, readapt and learn everything. So through discipline and persistent and having purpose in life, that's what get me where I'm at right now. I'm very passionate on what I do, and my passionate with service, making other companies, brands, and executives better to fulfill the goals. That's when passion turns into purpose, and that's what I'm driven. I'm driven about purpose with passion. So having fun and getting paid at the same time.
Take us to the early days of your agency. Was there a gap that you've seen in the market that no one was filling?
Yes, definitely was part of that. I work in different ad agencies when I moved here. Learned their culture, the way of doing business, and then in 2006 is when I decided to branch out and open my own business, focusing on a specific niche that it was Hispanic market, and of course now we evolve more into the multicultural marketing. But it was a need an opportunity that I saw, especially in the market. I was, and I'm still located at this time in Orlando, Florida. So I started with one client from my house, and then from there start growing the business. And now we're very successful ad agency, been in business very close to 20 years right now.
Tell us about that first client. How did you sign that first client?
That first client, the way I signed it, it was basically through a network event. It was in the real estate development, and they were opening new communities in the Orlando market. And in this area, they called Kissimmee area, where they had a high population of Hispanics and currently have. So they needed help with catering to potential Hispanic homeowners in promoting the opening of this new community so they can sell those condos and houses to the Latino community. That's how I started with the first client, and then start adding more and working with some of the national brands and top 500 companies, which I'm very proud of. The trajectory and the growth of the business, and the opportunity to work with these globally known brands.
When you did work for this first client, what did you do differently versus what you would have done if you didn't have that specific focus of your agency? What did you do differently versus any other agency they would have hired?
Yeah, so what I did differently is, for being Hispanic, we know how to engage brands with them, how to trigger consumers' behaviors with them. It's about understanding the cultural nuances. A lot of the brands right now, a lot of them, but not all of them, they still see this opportunity to reach to this niche through a language standpoint, which culture is more important than language. And that's when campaigns, they don't create and generate the results that they are looking for. It's not translation based, it's transcreation, it's creating a campaign that truly appeal to the cultural nuances and speak to the needs of these consumers. So it's not language, it's culture. And that's what we do different. We're very big on data, we're very big on research, we're very big on understanding the consumer's DNA, the wants, needs, desire, understanding the whole consumer journey and how they engage with brands. And then from there, what are the expectations? And once that purchase has been done of that product or service, how you keep that consumer engaged, which is a part a lot of times brands, they don't pay attention on it. They are more focused on the sale rather than the long-term relationship.
So, what are some cultural differences of Hispanics in the United States?
So they're very family driven. Very strong family values, very proud of their heritage, their language, and they tend to be very loyal. So understanding how they engage with brands, what are the priorities that they have, and many times, depending on products, it tends to be a family decision, more like a me decision. So, and when you reach out to younger audiences as well, they tend to live in a multi-generational home. So the elders plays an important role on that purchase process. So understanding the dynamic of that household, understanding how they think, understanding that trust is very important to create and generate from them in order to turn that consumer into a long-term and loyal consumer and customer is crucial. So that's why the data part, the research part is important. And I address this very often with brands. This is not just a simple translating English to Spanish, is understanding their culture and how to gain that trust. Once you have it, once you gain the trust and you earn it, you tend to have a very loyal customer from generation to generation.
Could you elaborate on how to earn that trust?
Sure. So earning the trust starts there. What I always said is understanding the consumer's DNA, wants, and desire. Earning the trust is understanding what truly resonates to them and how to create through storytelling of advertising the perfect lifestyle that truly appeal to their needs, but where you can position your product or service that will definitely solve that challenge that they have or make their lifestyle better. So people tend to resonate to situations or customs within their culture that, you know, they are very ordinary in the way they have been raised and they perceive them as the right one, as correct ones, or even give them some flashback of their when they were younger, for example. So there's so many different angles that on an advertising standpoint, it can help you to earn that trust, to create that trust from the beginning. That's why doing the diligence first, understanding the consumer, it is crucial. And that's where the research and data will basically help you to build that roadmap. And then, of course, partnering with experts into this market niche will help you make that campaign and that message stronger, authentic, and more believable.
Hernan, and could you share with us how did you sign your first well-known global brand as a client?
My first global brand as a client, basically I met one of the regional directors in charge of the Southeast region of United States. So through having conversations with her and sharing our value proposition, our expertise, taking into consideration the Southeast is very diverse and a strong presence of Latinos community. So that's what she mentioned. Look, this could be a great opportunity to talk to corporate office, our chief marketing officer, and I will set up this meeting with him to bring you and your team in so you can share where the business opportunities for us and how maybe we can start something on a market by market or on a regional base see the momentum that we create, the results that we create, and then take this into a national type of campaign. So that's how I started working with this global brand. The regional opens the door to talk to the corporate level.
Very good. So tell us what happens. So you go for that big meeting, how things unfold once you're there.
Well, it was a lot of hesitation, and sometimes it depends on how open-minded executives tend to be, right? So in this case, it was a lot of hesitation because this person at that time, the chief marketing officer, didn't have enough information about the Hispanic consumers. And also, it was a little bit of personal bias on how the company overall, for decades, they had been doing business in a specific way. So when you present a new idea, a new business opportunity, sometimes there's a lot of resistance for the unknown, resistance of potentially making a mistake. And as human beings, we try to control things in life. That the more control you're trying to have, the less control you have. So you gotta take risk, and you have to take a leap of faith, and it's the only way that a human being can learn. So that's why in the first meeting, it was challenging because he felt that the Hispanic market wasn't a priority for him and a business opportunity for him. He had other priorities, but the regional director, who is the one who brought us in, she's like, look, you are complaining every week on the marketing meetings that we keep losing market shares and sales are down, and there are more competitors in the market. I'm not saying this agency and these people have the solution to our problem, but definitely they are experts on something that is very strong in the market that we have a presence on. So we should give them a shot and try. And that's how we started. We started with a pilot campaign to get their feet wet and see and show them the potential that they have. And then from there, after we show the performance and results, that's when other markets, other states, they start adding and then taking this campaign and initiative into a national campaign that there is data, of course, supported behind that has been working.
Tell us about the pilot campaign. What did you do and what were the results?
Well, what we did is they gave us two markets, two specific DMAs for 6 months. They gave us a budget. They gave us some promotions they wanted to announce and advertise. And they gave us specific KPI. Of course, they wanted a lot of foot traffic to their store. And we did a lot of branding campaign, first of all, introducing the brand to the Hispanic community, something brand new for them. So people need to be aware of what the brand was all about and what is the value proposition and how welcoming they were going to feel when they were walking inside the retail stores and do business with them. So we started with some store activations on specific events to generate that interest. And then sales start coming and stores managers calling corporate saying, hey, usually our stores on Tuesdays, there's not too many customers. Now we have a lot of customers. They're here for this particular activation event that this new agency put together. We would love to have this more on an ongoing basis. So how can we work this out? So that's how this started with this pilot campaign for 6 months. It was a lot of branding, activation, and then that drove traffic and drove sales. And that's what basically gave the message to corporate, like, there's a lot of money we're leaving on the table by not doing this in other markets. And that's how all this started.
Tell us more about the activation events.
Activations event, in this case, for example, we partner with radio stations. We did a lot of live remotes. We promote specific soccer games, sport events to come to this. Is a QSR restaurant to come to this restaurant, and then we also supported by some community events, so concerts, Hispanic entrepreneur events, They give awards, or it's a gala event with dinner, so the brand sponsor that. So we started that way, to show the return on investment. So that was part of the activation, how we started.
And when those customers were coming to the store, how did you make sure that they actually did feel welcomed? How did you make sure that the store was able to deliver on the promise you were making?
So it was a process by phases. Of course, clients, when they start reaching to other audiences, is there are certain things that they have to take into consideration, like in this case, having bilingual employees in staff. So it was something that it didn't change overnight or in 2 months. It was a process that it took, more than 6 months, but they start implemented year over year to make sure in certain stores that they were very catered to the Hispanic community. They had bilingual people in the staff, so if somebody comes and feels a little more comfortable in speaking with somebody that speaks Spanish, so then they have that option available for them. So that was number one. Number two is to have some bilingual collateral materials in these stores when we were doing activations. So in a way of saying, we hear you, we see you, we recognize you, and we respect whatever language you want to speak. In this case, of course, Spanish. If you want somebody that speaks Spanish, we have it in the store. So most of the stores, they had some, whether it was the cook or whether it was the person who was working at the front desk. But then as the time was going passing by, then they start bringing more employees and more diverse employees into their team. So at the end of the day, we need to make sure that they reflect the community they serve. That's how you make people feel welcome as a starting point.
Hernan, and can you take us through your thought process of how that budget that you had for 6 months had to be allocated in the most effective, efficient way?
Well, the thought process is it was basically dictated by the KPIs, and the clients wanted two strong KPIs. One was increase of sales, and the other was increase of foot traffic, and the third one was increase of website visitors. So based on those KPIs, we were, my team figured it out. Okay, how can we get the most amount of people in a shorter period of time on these activations to show momentum, and that being reflected into sales? And that's when we came with this proposal that included some traditional media at that time, and then having a bilingual website, of course, our landing page, and then partnership with different media to bring people into the store and create and generate the sales, so the client can see the return on investment. So it was more on we call it a short-term type of goals. And that's how we work with clients. We help them depending on what they're trying to achieve. We're more interested into the long-term growth and the short-term gains. But we understand it's a process to take. So there are certain things to get where the client needs to be. You got to show and prove value to them. So most of the time you start with short-term goals, and then from there, that's when you can start having the conversation of, okay, how can we take this brand to the next level? As you just showed me, in a short period of time, you're generating sales, you're generating foot traffic, and there is a business opportunity for us.
And then in terms of actual allocation of the budget on various categories of spending, how did you make that decision for that client?
Well, the decision, as I said before, was based on how we can bring the most amount of people to the retail store. And that's why we came with activations. Bring people in, getting to know the brand, the product, can experience it, can see it. And now, now more than ever with social media, is very important to spread the word. So that's why it's important also while people are coming to your retail store, let's say, and it's a great opportunity to create content. So on one end, that's why activations is very important, but also you have to support that with some traditional and non-traditional media, right? To bring people in, you need to run some advertising campaigns on certain media, such as could be radio and digital and social. So depending on what the goal is of the campaign, then there's certain media, they have their weaknesses and they have their strength. Everybody would love to do TV, but sometimes TV is not the right media for you. It's too expensive and maybe it's not the right moment if you don't have the budget to create that momentum that you're looking for. So budget dictates basically what media, budgets and KPI dictates what media will work better based on the goals the clients are trying to reach.
Of course. And if you were working for this client right now versus then, what would you do differently?
What I would do differently, definitely I would have a stronger presence on multicultural consumers, not just Hispanics. We are becoming a very diverse audience. 44% of consumers are multicultural, and by 2027, that number will jump to 48%. So that's where the growth is coming. So that will be my message to these clients and to any clients out there. Start thinking how your company and your brand is going to evolve and how you're going to keep it authentic and relevant. And the way of doing it is to appeal to these younger generations that are driving this growth, and they're going to be the main consumers, or they already are your main consumers. So that's my shout out to a lot of marketers and CEOs. We are facing consumer evolution, adding to technology now with the AI, the power AI. So we're going through all this process. It could sound very overwhelming, but it is the reality. Is whether you embrace it or you're going to be out of business.
You recently wrote a book. What are the key things you want people to take away from your book?
Well, the key things that I would like people to learn from my book is number one, as I said before, we're becoming a multicultural mainstream. We already are a multicultural mainstream. By 2045, the census is talking about that white consumers will become minorities. Sorry. So, as a brand and as an executive, you gotta keep in mind and embrace the trends and the how consumers are evolving, in particular Gen Zs and millennials. So that's number one, understanding where the growth is coming and what are the tools and resources and plans that you should have in place to embrace this consumer evolution. Number two, I would love for people to learn. There's still a lot of stereotypes out there about the Hispanic community. A lot of promoted by the media and some, politicians as well. That if you look at the numbers, it's all out there on the internet. It's not true. The Hispanic community is a very vibrant and growing community. 70% of the population are US born. 45% are second generation. So it's a domestic growth. 68% are part of middle to upper class. 11% is affluent. So it's people that, first of all, they are Americans. They are second generation of Americans. And number two, they have the disposable income to expand. So that's another thing that I address this book. I talk about some myth of the Hispanic market that a lot of corporate executives have, and I address those myths in the book. And last but not least, I like to give a message in my book of, running a company or running a brand. You gotta take risks. You're gonna make mistakes. It's part of the growth. It's part of being a successful entrepreneur. but also is having a deep understanding and a sense of what's going on in the market, and staying away from personal bias. So just the fact that you have been doing business in a specific way doesn't mean it's the right way. So you cannot be drinking your own Kool-Aid. And that's how I live my life. In my agency, I have the open door policy. I allow everybody to put their thoughts and points of view when we are dealing with new brands, no matter what department is. Everybody is welcome to collaborate. We see ourselves more than a team, it's more like a family. And for me, titles doesn't mean anything. I like to learn. I feel there's have a lot of things to learn from young people as well. It's never too old to learn and never too young to teach. So that's how I live my life, and that's what I talk in the book. You gotta take a leap of faith. You gotta try new things. You gotta innovate. You gotta evolve. You gotta embrace market trends if you really want to stay in business, be an authentic brand, and being culturally relevant as well.
What are executives missing, do you think, when they assume multicultural strategy is optional?
They are missing that is not optional. It is a business imperative. They are missing that, we tend to be a very reactive society instead of a proactive one. So they are also missing, they're concentrating in the short-term gains rather than the long-term growth. And when you appeal to a new audience that is going to be driving your growth, you need to give things time. The same way when you meet a new person, right? So you're not going to get married next day. So you're not going to expect results in a week. So it takes time. You need to nurture that relationship. You got to earn that trust. But once you go through that process, you're going to start seeing your return on investment. You're going to start seeing how sales or market share that you have been losing by your competitors from the general market, you are balancing that loss of sales by appealing to other consumers, which means multicultural consumers. So those are things that I see in the corporate world that leaders are missing out. And then and last but not least, yeah, at the end of the day, if you want to run a successful business, you have to represent the community you serve. That's key.
If a company starts today with a blank slate, how should it be built for cultural relevance from day one?
That's a very, very great questions. I think how they should start by understanding the consumers, by researching, by learning. That's where it starts, with doing the research. That's what I always encourage all my clients. A lot of them, they're big brands. They have the research department, and they tend to tell you they have a lot of research out there, and a lot of them they do. But a lot of them, even though they have a lot of research, there's still research and questions that they haven't been answered yet. So that's why we always like to digest all the research that they have, if they do have it, and then come up with some solutions or some things that, hey, we see a gap here and there, that this will help to tell the overall story and will help to craft that strategy that we can help you put together based on the information that you have, plus adding a little more that needs to be done. And sometimes we work with clients that they don't have anything. They don't have any research done for multicultural consumers. They have some research done for general market, but maybe it's 3 or 4 years old. So that's kind of like a blank slate for us, because it's starting from ground zero, ground up. So that's when we start putting all this research in place, understanding consumers' journey, and then do the crossover, right? So once we have all the research from, let's say, Hispanic market, okay, how can we cross over that with the general market? And then how we can find things that they have in common and things that they are different. And then how can we address that into the communication campaign? Of course, when you do these type of campaigns for multicultural consumers, something that I want to address on is the look and feel of the campaign has to be aligned with your overall general market strategy and campaign at the same time. So whether you see the ad in English or you say in different languages, it has to have that look and feel. And that's what we're expert on. Not only we follow suit of what the brand guideline that the client has, but we know how to craft that message that appeal to the cultural nuances and makes that message and brand relevant and make that person say, hey, I want to do business with this brand. I want to buy this product or service.
What are the values and preferences of US Hispanics that brands often miss? I know you mentioned earlier some preferences, but which are the ones that brands often miss, even when they try to focus on that particular market segment?
Yeah, what brands tends to miss is they use the general market campaign, for example, and then they tend to just put people that resemble Hispanics or resembles, let's say, African Americans or Asian Pacifics. But then when you look deep inside, what is the message? It's just a little translation of the English campaign into other languages and putting people that resemble these audiences. And when you do that, you take the risk of that strategy not only to be misunderstood and diluted, but also you're not showing respect. And what I mean with that is when you translate a campaign that you have for the general market and try to force it in other languages, you're basically forcing a strategy that was never upon intended to reach to other cultures, to other audiences. So you're just hoping and praying that by this translation, people will understand the message, will resonate to them, and that's it, check. Well, the reality is it's not going to create the results that you're looking for because you do not have an authentic campaign that was flashed through it to appeal the cultural nuances of these consumers. And I always say like this, it's like saying that Australians and Americans are the same because they speak English. It is incorrect. They speak English, but they have different, the way the culture is different. So you got to make adjustments of that campaign on the market you're running. The same happened with the Hispanic market. You had to speak both languages, English and Spanish. As I said before, 45% of the consumers right now are second generation Hispanics. So the younger, they prefer to speak English. The older, they tend to prefer to speak Spanish. So you have to have a campaign that appealed to both. But what companies tend to do wrong is, oh, that Hispanic that was born here and speak English, I don't have to make adjustments on the campaign. It's the same campaign. I just put somebody that looks Hispanic and that's it. And that's the risk that you take. You're not coming authentic. You're not appealing to the cultural nuances. So you dilute the engagement and the brand recall. And at the end of the day, that translates into less sales and that translates into low engagement of the campaign and results. So that's why, as I said before, culture is more important than language at time of execution. That's the key.
What do you think is the most important trend in Hispanic consumer behavior right now?
One of the most important trends in Hispanic consumers' behaviors, definitely, I think the social media is a very important trend right now. To have content, culture relevant content, available to them in English and in Spanish. There's a lot of brands out there. They have a very strong followers, but when it comes to other audiences or when it comes to Hispanics, there's not enough content that appeal to this highly influential consumer market. So even SEO in Spanish, for example, is another important thing to consider. We know we are living right now on this moment of transformation, but at the end of the day, numbers don't lie. It's all out there, and that's the direction that we're going. The growth of the Hispanic community is a domestic growth. Higher household income, higher education, bilingual, bicultural, and they tend to spend 90% of the disposable income. So that's one of the trends that I see very big on social media. And well, as we know now with AI, that we are on the kind of like early stages right now, and it's going to change very soon. We'll see where this will take us.
If you had 1 hour with the CEO on this topic, what would you prioritize?
Well, I think the in 1 hour that we'll prioritize is addressing the myth that they're still out there about the Hispanic consumers. So starts with there. It starts with educating the opportunity that they have, the business opportunity they have, educating of how valuable and important these consumers are, and then help them craft the right message that will definitely be aligned with the overall vision and mission of the organization, but in a culturally relevant way that it will look authentic, it will feel authentic, and it will sound authentic. So that's in 1 hour what I would like to address. I will hone in into educating this executive about the consumer and the business opportunity they have.
Has AI changed the way you run your campaigns today?
Oh, it does. It always does, especially with social media. Depending on what type of clients you have, if you have a client that is on hospitality, definitely digital social media are 80% of the budget. So the market is changing, is evolving. Streaming right now is very big, and I foresee moving forward that's the direction that we're going. Ratings. It's going to be something of the past. It's going to be more related on conversions and engagement. So that's where we are right now on evolving into digital social media streaming, and then with AI adding into it. So that's why we're going to be going through some interesting times. And me personally, I'm doing some coming up doing some AI courses and embracing this. Is something that I foresee moving forward for anybody looking for a job. Like the old times, they used to ask you how is your knowledge on Microsoft Word products. It's going to be coming up very soon. What is your knowledge about AI and the prompts, and how expert or experience do you have in apply them? So the time to act is now. So I highly encourage everybody to start learning AI.
What are some key lessons you have learned so far from experimenting with AI in your work, from things you have learned through all those courses you're taking?
Things that I have experience in, definitely right now I'm using AI. I'm excited about this course that I'm going to be doing and learning all these different prompts. Definitely has been helping us as a source of inspiration. Even in my team, the creative team, they use it a lot when we got to create new campaigns, come up with some headlines based on the consumer demographic we're trying to reach. So they use it as a source of inspiration. In my case, yeah, definitely I use it as a source of research. For me, it's very important when talking to new clients or existing clients and have an understanding of what's going on in the market. I use a lot of AI on a research standpoint. Also, when it comes to crafting certain emails, so I use it a lot too. So it has been very, very, very helpful so far, and it is the direction that we're going, and looking forward to learn more on how to implement AI on my daily life in certain things.
And to wrap up, I'm going to ask you one or two of my favorite questions, depending on the amount of time we will have. So, first one is, of the last few years, what were two, three aha moments, realizations that really changed the way you look at life or the way you look at business?
Great. So the way I look at life, I would say you can get the life you want by changing the way you think. The way you think determines your life. And I also learned that the greatest mistake a man can make is to be afraid of making one. That was kind of like against the way I was raised. I was raised by an Italian family, very conservative, very male dominant. And so always like, we don't want you to make these mistakes. We already make those mistakes, but it's the only way that you can learn. That's why the greatest mistake a man can make is to be afraid of making one, for sure. And success is on the other side of fear. It's not what happened to you that will determine how far you're going to reach into life. It's how you handle what happens to you. And things happen for a reason. The things don't happen to you, they happen for you. So that's part of what I learned in my life, that it has been helping me to go through different challenges and be patient and go through the process and believe things happen for a reason, and what are the lessons learned out of it. And that's how a person grow, right? But learning, adjusting, making those mistakes and move forward. You always have to move forward. And then from a business standpoint, that's the way I am. I like to be very upfront and transparent with clients and set the right expectations. That has been very successful to me. And also learning to say no. Many times we have the opportunity to work with some brands that we're like, well, this is a huge opportunity to work. But through the process of going through getting to know us, the proposals and all these, then I came to the conclusion, this company is not aligned with the direction I want to take my business, and I want to grow together. So yeah, it sounds really, really nice on paper, but learning and getting to know the leadership and the way they think and their goals and perspective is not aligned where the type of clients I want to work with. So I have many times to say no. Money is good, but it's not aligned with the purpose. So for me, it's working with clients that really they need help, and they need the help of an expert, of a team who can help them propel that brand and take it to the next level. So I know as an entrepreneur, for some of them, it's very hard to say no because you have bills to pay and all that stuff. But I also learned working with the wrong clients is not the right investment, because it brings the morale down of a lot of your employees, frustration, a lot of stress, and then it's not an effective business. So people tend to do business with people they like, and it's the energy, is the click when you meet a client. You're gonna feel it if it is the right client, and that's how I like to do business.
Thank you. And the last question. If you could instill one belief in every listener's heart and head right now, what belief would you instill?
The belief is do never, ever, ever give up. As I said before, success is on the other side of fear, and follow your instinct. It's better to take the risk and find out, well, maybe this wasn't for me, and what did I learn from it. That's better than having the remorse of not doing it, and then have that, why I didn't do it. Maybe I lost an opportunity. So that's why I always tell people, take the risk, go through it, make the decision. If it didn't work, okay, what did I learn from it? And then move on. As I said before, it's part of human beings. We try to control things. We try not to suffer. We try to minimize risk. We try to play it safe and being comfortable. But the more you try to control your life and decision, the less control you have.
Thank you, Herman. Really appreciate you being here with us today. Where can our listeners learn more about you, by your book, anything you want to share?
Thank you for having me. They can find my book on Amazon.com. Also, they can visit my website on hernantagliani.com. And the books is also available on different bookstores in the US and the UK, including Amsterdam and Spain and Italy.
Our guest today again has been Hernan Tagliani. Check out his book. It is called Multicultural Mainstream, The Power of Hispanics in Consumer Marketing. And our podcast sponsor today is strategytraining.com. If you want to strengthen your strategy skills, you can get the overall approach used in well-managed strategy studies. It's a free download, and you can get it at firmsconsulting.com/overall approach. You can also get McKinsey and BCG winning resume, also a free download we prepared for you, and you can get it at firmsconsulting.com/resume PDF. And lastly, you can get a copy of a book we co-authored with some of our amazing clients and listeners, and you can get it at firmsconsulting.com/gift. Thank you so much for tuning in, and I'm looking forward to connect with you all next time.